It's time for another episode of Raising Courageous Leaders by Mr. Bonke Shipalana. That's my dad.
So today, what are we talking about?
Today, I want us to talk about the difference between facts and truth.
The
The
difference.
amazing thing is that if you go and Google it or check in the diary,
Yeah.
the words seem similar and people tend to use them as if they mean the same
Interchangeably.
thing, but we're going to just try and see the gap between the two words.
Love it. So what is the difference between facts and truth? I mean, as you rightfully say, we tend to use them interchangeably. And I think in many of our minds, we tend to think they're one and the same thing.
Yep, I mean, due to time, I'll just summarize the definition or my definition of the difference between facts and truth.
Yeah.
When it comes to fact, a fact is basically something that exists or is present in reality. Information that is accurate but only within a limited context
Yeah.
or from a single perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that's the important. It's limited context or from a single perspective. So someone might say, I know Apelele or I know John from this particular branch. Do they know the John that they met for that 3 minutes or do they know John holistically? So many times you allow people who know us from a limited context or from a single perspective to define us. They're not defining us, that's just a fact. And this also includes your experiences. You might have failed, you might have missed your target, you might have missed that promotion. That doesn't define you, it's just a fact.
Yeah.
It's a limited context or from a single perspective.
Mm-hmm.
While the truth talks about the power that is within you.
Yeah.
Truth are those things that are not simply acknowledged, but must be discovered or created. Truth are those things that are not simply acknowledged, but have to be discovered or created. Simply meaning that when you start a job, you might be at level 5 or level 4 in terms of knowledge of a particular system, but you have to discover the power or the knowledge within you in order to get promoted. You have to create, meaning you have to learn more about that particular system for you to get promoted to a new level. So fact is someone seeing you from one angle, while truth is already within you, but for it to come out, it has to be discovered or created. The biggest challenge for me and you on earth every single day is to move from facts to truth,
Sure.
is to remain centered on the truth. Who Bonke was in matric, who Bonke was when doing third year, who Bonke was when still working for another company, who Bonke is today being self-employed, are 4 different people from a factual perspective,
Yeah.
but the truth is the same. So I had to discover this entrepreneur in me through the journey. No one, when I was doing matric, said, I want to know, there's going to be an entrepreneur one day.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
they could not see that it was within me, but for me to discover and create it, I had to work on it. So to summarize the difference between the two, if I had to have an apple seed in my hand, and I had to ask you, you clever Pelele, what do I have? You'll shout and say, Bonke, you have an apple seed. What you are saying is a fact and not the truth. Because within that apple seed, there are more seeds. If I have to go and plant that apple seed, I'll get apples. What's inside those apples? Seeds.
Yeah.
And if I keep on replanting those seeds, I actually have an orchard. So that's the difference. Within you, there is the truth, but people only see the facts.
Wow. So you keep saying one word that's sticking out. You talk about, in relation to the truth, you talk about discover, which then makes me believe or makes me think that, when I think of discover, I think of a journey. Then, in essence, you're saying the truth of oneself is a journey. Yes?
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. For you to discover something, it means it was there.
Yeah.
I didn't say establish or innovate. It was already there.
Yeah.
Your role was to go to it. Your role was to get into a journey until you find it. And it's through work, it's through experience, it's through tests, it's through trials that you actually discover the truth within you.
And I think all of us at some point or another have an existential crisis where we ask ourselves these questions, right? How does one discover themselves or discover the real essence of who they are? The how is always the tricky part.
True. I think for me, the best way to discover the real you is by discovering your passion.
Yeah.
the best way to discover, not the only way, but for me, the best way to discover the real you is to discover a passion. And that passion, I'm not talking about Valentine, I'm talking about a time, no choo-choo. If you go and do your research, the word passion in Greek means suffering.
Sure, okay.
That's why we're that movie called The Passion of Christ. It was the suffering of Christ. The entire movie, the dude was suffering.
Yeah.
So when you say I'm passionate about something, what I hear in my mind is you saying that I'm willing to suffer for. Not this excites me. Not I get joy from doing it.
Yeah.
Not that I'm energetic when doing it. It means that it's so painful that I'm not going to wait for my neighbor, my friend, my boss to do it for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to fix it myself because it's hurting me. It's hurting me inside. So for me, once you discover certain things in this world that hurt you and you're not going to wait for anyone else, you're going to wake up and do it. That is where your passion is. If I have to use myself as an example, from a young age, I got discouraged when I saw us young black people mostly coming from government schools who get intimidated or frustrated by the system because we are not confident in terms of standing up and talking or sharing our views.
Yes.
And I said, there are so many kids out there who are going to come after me, who are going to face the same giant. But I can't just sit here and wait. And that's when I started going to high schools to go and motivate matric students. Yeah. That's when I sent an email to SABC1 and says, listen, I like what you guys are doing on the Learning Channel, but can I please have a slot where I inspire the emotional side of our matriculants so that when they go to varsity, they go there with confidence. I did not know if I could do it. I did not have the cash to do it. I didn't have the reputation to do it, but I could not wait or stand around and wait for someone else to do it. It was really bothering my spirit, my soul, and that's when I stood up and started doing it. In there, I discovered the real Bonke. I discovered what Bonke is supposed to fight for on earth. I discovered Bonke's role on earth, Bonke's position on earth. And once you discover your role on earth, you start focusing on it and not be worried about other things that might distract you. There are so many things in this world that are problematic, but you need to focus on what you're good at. If I go to employees at the bank, when you get appointed, there is a role that you play.
Absolutely.
Either you work as a teller or you work in marketing or you work at the call center, but there is a role. But it does not mean that's the only role for the bank. There are 20,000 other roles. But can you imagine every day you come and say, okay, let me decide today, am I going to the call center, or am I going to the bank, or am I going to work on loans? No, you have a role and you need to focus on what you are there at the bank for. The same thing applies in life. You have a role. You need to focus on what you are there for. It does not mean that you can't help others when they need help, but don't forget your KPI, your reason for being on earth.
You've planted something in my heart and in my mind. I'm just very keen now as we conclude, Bonke. What is my homework now that, I'm having these words and I'm absorbing them and I'm processing them as you speak? What's the next move? What should I be doing on this journey to discover the truth about myself?
Two things. Number one, go and be honest with yourself and ask yourself, what is it that irritates me? What is it that hurts me? What is it that I can't stand? When I read the newspapers, when I watch the news, when I come to work, or when out of everything else, this part I can't stand, and I can't stand to a point where I want to do something about it. That's one. Number two, it's a question that I want you to think about for the next 2-3 weeks to a month. Don't try and answer it. Just let it simmer in your head. And that one question is, what will the world have lost if you were not born? If you were not on earth, what would be missing? What value are you adding on earth? And by answering that question, you'll be getting closer and closer to your truth.
Hey, Bonke, you have shaken me up today. My goodness, I don't know if that was your intention. Today, Bonke Shipalana, always such a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Stop waiting for someone to rescue you.
You must have patience and engage in consistent action.
Find the inspiration within yourself.
Patience
to rise above and be your own hero. Join Bonke Shipalana on The Power Within for 4 hours of inspiration.